Hey, we appreciate everybody for tapping into another episode of It's Big Mouth TV slash news, radio, podcast, all that in one. Y'all new to this channel. Hit that like and that subscribe. We getting into it. Alright, man, we got no other than NBA YoungBoy. Part 2. He made big mouth news today. Hey, again, we gotta talk about it though, man. They talking about NBA YoungBoy, man, is facing a long time, y'all. Hey, I mean, they saying, man, he's facing more than 45 years. Remember the first time we did the story, we said he was facing 45. Now they saying that the years is going up. All because they, like I say, they trying to have him on a RICO charge, conspiracy to murders, uh, some old murders, drug fraud, some type of Walgreens drug fraud. And they still bring Finesse name up in it, trying to say he was the one that dropped the dime, allegedly, man. But we hardly doubt that. We hardly doubt it. NBA YoungBoy was on federal parole, and he had some stuff uh, that he had to do while he was on parole, and he failed to do what he had to do. Why he failed to follow those rules, I guess, while he was on parole, man. I guess they decided to serve a warrant to see what was going on. Instead of him in there making music, they say he was in there doing drugs, running around with guns and stuff like that, man. Hey, free NBA YoungBoy, man, so he can get back to his music, man, and take care of his kids, man. He got a lot of kids at a young age, man. It's sad, man, to see, you know, a young man like this with so much talent, man, to go down the drain like that, man. It's crazy. Hey, we'll keep y'all updated as we jump into this next story right here. Speaking of NBA YoungBoy, we gotta speak about Quando Rondo, his protege, man, his homeboy, man, that was part of his team. I guess he's decided to throw in the white flag, man. Since NBA YoungBoy is incarcerated, Quando Rondo's been coming out, man, all on social media, uh, podcasts, been on No Jumper, things like that, man. All this on the ankle monitor, federal parole at that. Hey, a lot of people out to get him. He's trying to say, since NBA YoungBoy has been incarcerated, now he's trying to say his life is in really danger, man. And so he's, throwing in the white flag. He don't want to hang around gangs no more. Say he don't want to be around people. He's not making no more music. Things like that, man. Hey, shout out to Quando Rondo, man. We just hope he be safe out there. We hear anything else, we'll keep y'all updated as we jump into this last story right here. We don't want to hold y'all up too much more long. Hey, before we get up out of here, we got to leave y'all with this story. We got no other than Baltimore City. Hey, Baltimore City made big mouth news today. We got to talk about it, though. We got to pray for Baltimore City, man. They saying it's getting really ridiculous out there in Baltimore, man. The crime rate is going up as people on the urge of leaving the city, on the break of leaving because of the violence, man. They saying the violence is really in an uproar, man. And the city is getting out of control, man. Too many people getting hurt and murdered up there in Baltimore City, man. Y'all check it out, man. Before we get up out of here, man, y'all check it out, man. We're gonna leave y'all with
this place, and for too long instilled the deep-seated fear that drove families away.
Baltimore's Mayor, Stephanie Rawlings Blake, is delivering her annual State of the City address.
It's not time to celebrate.
Her words are combative. The population of Baltimore, the largest city in the state of Maryland, has been shrinking for decades. Mayor Rawlings Blake wants to grow it again by 10,000 families within the next 10 years.
Let there be no doubt. The state of our city is now better, safer, and stronger. The reductions in violence, at the same time reducing the number of arrests, which tells me that our targeted approach of targeting our most violent offenders is what will make the difference.
But while the focus is on guns, Mayor Rawlings Blake says drug crime will continue to be targeted too.
We're never going to be at a place, as long as there are people selling illegal drugs on the street, whether they're illicit drugs or prescription drugs, we will enforce those laws.
How can you say we want to get rid of crime, and then once the person serves their time and come back out, you tell them they can't live in public housing, they can't get health insurance, they can't get certain jobs. So how do they live?
Donnie Andrews should know. A convicted murderer, Donnie used to rob drug dealers for a living. He and his nephew Dante, who's a former dealer, said some of the neighborhoods Baltimore's kids are growing up in feel like conflict zones.
This is our war land. We duck, dodge, run, hide behind trees, all this shootouts.
That's what it feels like,
yeah.
that it's just a constant war.
Yeah.
Dante got into dealing drugs after an injury ended his hopes of becoming a basketball player.
You know, so I started dodging the street at 18. You know what I mean? Running with the wrong crew. Locked up, shot.
You got shot?
Yeah, got shot in my back and my leg.
So imagine another way of life.
Certain things tear up the neighborhood, so a lot of the fathers is gone now. So there's nobody here to guide the kids. So they turn to all the negative things, because there's nobody here to guide them.
The blame for that, Dante's friends say, shouldn't only be attributed to those sucked into the drug business, one of the few multi-million-dollar industries this city still has left.
Most of the government, they let that in. And that's just plain and simple. They let it in, then once it reached down to here, all right, we lock the young black youth up. Because that's the only place it's really going.
Baltimore.
Leaving, going overseas, wherever it ended up. It just wasn't here in Baltimore anymore. But it was also around that time that Richard Nixon decided that he was going to start a war against public enemy number one, drugs.
But it was President Ronald Reagan who turned that rhetorical war into a literal one.
You have to show that you have a drug criminal problem. So how do you do that? Through arrest.
At a time when drug crime was actually on the decline, not on the rise.
We went crazy arresting people for crack cocaine because of this so-called epidemic that we were having.
Incarceration rates began to just soar off the charts.
And we just put tons of black people in prison from our inner cities. Ungodly numbers.
More arrests meant more federal money. It's a system that still exists today in the form of federal job stimulus and other U.S. Department of Justice grants for crime control and community policing.
It's not it's all they know. So they're going into this world. They know the dangers there, you know. But what they have is no choice. And the way the game is rigged, they can't win. I mean, the number of guys that actually survive the corner to get into mid-level drug dealing so they can get away from the corner, they're few and far between.
Hopefully I could.
Growing up in a poor neighborhood in Baltimore means the odds are stacked against you.
And so we have a school-to-prison pipeline operating in Baltimore and in other cities where young people believe with some good reason that their destiny lies behind bars and they too will become members of the undercast.
Females getting pregnant and they're having children.
As we're preparing to leave Baltimore, we hear of yet another shooting. No body this time, but the blood on the pavement is proof of the continuing cycle of... Baltimore is a city that's still on the front line of the war on drugs. When you walk through neighborhoods like this, it's hard not to feel that the legacy of the war these communities have been living through is so bad that rhetoric or anything short of radical change.
Big mouth, big mouth, big mouth, big